Welcome to Echo Tales. Sometimes the quietest moments hold the loudest truths. This is the story of a man who found peace in an empty house, only to have that peace shattered by an unseen truth revealed by the very security he sought. For years, I hadn't been truly alone in my house. Between work, the kids, and Rose, there was always noise, always something happening. But this weekend was different. Rose had taken our two boys, Ethan and Jake, to visit her parents in Florida. She had meticulously planned the trip for weeks, packing the kids' bags, arranging flights, organizing every little detail. I, on the other hand, stayed behind. Work was too demanding, and to be honest, the promise of a quiet house sounded like a much-needed reprieve. On that first night alone, I made myself a lazy dinner, sank into the couch, and truly savored the silence. No cartoons blasting, no arguments over bedtime, just me and my thoughts. Around 9 p.m., a knock on the door interrupted my newfound peace. I opened it to see my neighbor, Greg. Greg was in his late 50s, a retired cop who still carried himself with an air of subtle vigilance. He was always keeping an eye on things, always aware of who came and went. "Hey, Jeff," he said, stepping onto the porch without waiting for an invitation. "Saw Rose and the kids leave earlier. You're flying solo, huh?" "Yeah," I nodded, a rare moment of peace. Greg chuckled, then leaned in slightly. "Listen, just wanted to give you a heads up. I installed some new security cameras around my place. You ever thought about getting some?" I frowned. Security cameras? I mean, we live in a safe neighborhood. Greg shrugged. "That's what they all say, until something happens. You'd be surprised how many break-ins happen when people let their guard down." He tapped his temple. "A guy I know who lives 4 blocks away had his house broken into a couple of days ago. Just something to think about." I laughed, shaking my head. "I appreciate the concern, Greg, but I think I'll be fine." "Suit yourself," he said, raising his hands. "Just remember, being prepared is better than being sorry." He left, and I shut the door, dismissing the idea. Cameras felt unnecessary. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the thought. What if someone was in my house and I didn't even know it? By morning, that thought had grown into something I couldn't ignore. So after scrolling through online deals, I ordered a set of cameras that could stream live footage to my phone. It wasn't paranoia, I told myself. It was just an extra precaution. When the cameras arrived, I spent an afternoon installing them. I set one up at the front door, another in the backyard, and one inside near the living room. I even tested them with the app, watching myself move around in real time. Satisfied, I shut my phone and went about my day, feeling oddly relieved. What I didn't realize then, what I should have realized, was that I had just set myself up to see something I was never meant to see. The next few days flew by. The house was quiet, and I was enjoying the solitude. But when Rose and the kids returned on Sunday afternoon, the silence was finally, joyfully, broken. Rose walked through the door with the kids running around her, laughing, shouting, filling the house with that familiar chaos. I could hear Ethan and Jake arguing over who got to sit where on the couch, and Rose's gentle voice trying to mediate. I smiled to myself as I watched it all unfold. Normality, family, everything felt right again. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed it until it was back. The house had felt too empty, and now it was whole again. I hadn't thought about the cameras at all in the past few days. Honestly, I just enjoyed being with my family, returning to our usual routine. I didn't know it then, but that moment of peace would be the last time things felt normal. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I was sitting at my desk at work, sifting through emails, when the thought of the cameras popped back into my mind. Maybe it was a quiet, nagging feeling, a premonition, but I figured I'd check the footage, just a quick peek. I opened the camera app on my phone, scrolling through the clips. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until I stopped on one from the previous Saturday afternoon. In the video, I saw Rose at the front door talking to someone. At first, it seemed harmless enough, but then the man entered the house. A tall, stocky guy in a dark jacket. I recognized Rose's smile. She was happy to see him. But who was he? I didn't recognize him at all. I leaned in closer, pausing the footage as the man walked further into the house. The way he moved, almost too familiar. He wasn't a stranger. He knew where to go. My heart skipped a beat. I replayed the video again, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was just someone from work or a friend of hers I didn't know. But the more I watched, the more uneasy I felt. I should have called Rose, confronted her. But I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to. Instead, I just closed the app and shoved my phone into my pocket. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing that man, his movements, the way he seemed so comfortable in my home. I tried to push it out of my mind. Maybe I was overthinking it. But a couple of days later, I couldn't help it. I had to check again. I opened the app once more, scrolling through more footage from the days after Rose came back. And there he was again, the same guy. I watched, frozen, as he walked through the house again. This time, he was in the living room, laughing with Rose. I could see the two of them talking, sitting on the couch together. This wasn't just a random visit. This guy knew Rose, knew our house. Something wasn't right. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I installed 2 more cameras in the living room, one in the kitchen and one inside the bedroom. I didn't tell Rose. I didn't want to seem paranoid, but I couldn't help it. I needed to know who this man was. It was a week later, late at night, when I finally sat down to check the footage again. The house was silent. Rose and the kids were asleep, unaware of what I was about to uncover. I wasn't expecting much, just the same routine moments. Rose with the kids, Rose cooking, maybe that man showing up again, maybe not. I clicked through the timestamps, fast-forwarding through the usual household scenes. Kids playing in the backyard, Rose cleaning the kitchen, nothing unusual. Then, the bedroom footage caught my eye. My stomach dropped. I clicked the file, my heart hammering in my chest. The video loaded, and for a moment, all I saw was Rose standing by the bed. Then a few seconds later, he walked in. The same man. I gripped my phone so hard my fingers ached. Rose didn't look surprised. She didn't ask him why he was there. She didn't push him away. She reached for him. My breath caught in my throat. I watched them kiss, their hands pulling each other close. They whispered something, words I couldn't hear. But I didn't need to. The way they looked at each other, the way they moved, it was clear, too clear. Then, piece by piece, their clothes came off. I shut my phone. My hands were shaking. My entire body felt cold. It wasn't just some random guy. It wasn't just some moment of weakness. This was something else. This was a pattern. I sat there staring at the wall, my mind blank. How long? How long had this been happening right under my nose? I tried to take a deep breath, but it felt like my chest wouldn't expand. My home, my marriage, my wife, all of it ruined in a matter of minutes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to wake her up and demand an explanation. But what could she possibly say? What excuse could she give that would make this hurt any less? Nothing. Because there was nothing left to say. The next morning, I didn't say a word to Rose. I went through the motions, got up, made coffee, watched the kids eat breakfast. Rose acted normal, completely unaware that I knew everything. I watched her laugh with Ethan and Jake, kissed them on the forehead before sending them off to school, as if nothing had happened. As soon as the door shut behind them, I spoke. "Sit down." She turned to me, confused. "What? Sit down." Something in my voice must have told her I wasn't joking, but she slowly lowered herself onto the couch. I pulled out my phone, opened the footage, and handed it to her. She took it, frowning, until she pressed play. I watched her face carefully, watched her lips part slightly, her breath hitch as realization set in. The color drained from her face. She covered her mouth with one hand, eyes flicking between me and the screen. For a moment, she was completely silent. Then in a shaky voice, she whispered, "Jeff, please, I crossed my arms, waiting. It meant nothing. It was a mistake. I still love you." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "A mistake? A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This," I gestured at the phone, "was a choice, over and over again." Tears welled in her eyes. "I swear it didn't mean anything." "Stop saying that," I cut her off, my voice low. "Because it meant enough for you to bring him into our home, into our bed." I shook my head. "You don't get it, do you? The trust is gone. What you did can't be fixed." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Jeff, please," she begged, her voice cracking. "Don't do this. Don't throw everything away." I stood up, looking down at her. "I'm not the one who threw it away, Rose. You did." I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked down the hall. In the bedroom, the same one that now felt ruined, I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started packing. A few shirts, jeans, some essentials, just enough to get by for a few days. My hands were steady, but my chest felt hollow, like I was watching myself from the outside. Rose stood in the doorway, eyes red, lips trembling. "Where are you going?" I zipped up the bag. "I can't stay here." She took a small step forward. "Jeff, please." I brushed past her without looking back. I didn't stop until I was in my car, engine running. My mind was a mess, but I knew exactly where I was going, my mother's house. She opened the door, surprised to see me standing there with a bag slung over my shoulder. "Jeff, what's going on?" I let out a slow breath. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside immediately, concern etched across her face. As soon as I sat down, the words just came spilling out. The cameras, the footage, the betrayal. She listened, her expression shifting from shock to sadness to quiet anger. "Oh, Jeff," she finally said, reaching out to squeeze my hand. "I'm so sorry." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I'm done, Mom. I can't go back." She nodded in understanding. "Then don't." The next morning, I went straight to a lawyer. Filing for divorce felt surreal, but there was no hesitation. I wasn't interested in second chances or explanations. I just wanted out. But as I walked out of the lawyer's office, something kept gnawing at me. The man. Who was he? So I hired a private investigator. I gave him everything I knew, descriptions, the footage, any little detail that might help. A few days later, he called me back. "I found him," he said. I gripped the phone tighter. "Who is he?" There was a brief pause, like he was bracing himself. "His name is Mark. He's a teacher at your kid's school." I couldn't believe it. A teacher. Not just any man. Someone from our kid's school. Someone who saw my sons every day, who smiled at them in the hallways, all while sneaking around with their mother. I sat in my car outside my mother's house, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm the storm inside me. But there was no stopping it. I had to confront her one last time. That evening, I drove back to the house. As soon as I stepped inside, Ethan and Jake ran up to me, clearly missing me. I glanced at Rose, who stood frozen near the kitchen. She hadn't expected me to show up. I crouched down and hugged my boys tightly. "I love you both so much," I said, my voice steady, despite the weight in my chest. "But I need to talk to your mom for a moment, okay?" They hesitated, looking between us, then slowly walked to their room. As soon as they were gone, I turned to Rose. "You're cheating on me with our son's teacher," I said, my voice low but sharp. "His teacher, Rose. I can't believe it." She swallowed hard. "Jeff, please, I don't want to hear it," I cut her off. "I know who he is. I know everything. And I want you to know that I already filed for divorce." Her eyes widened. "You, what?" "It's over." I let the words sink in. "You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." For a second, she looked like she wanted to argue, to beg, to explain, but there was nothing left to say. This wasn't my home anymore. The next morning, I went straight to the school and requested a meeting with the principal. When I showed him the evidence, I made it clear that a teacher having an affair with a student's mother was unacceptable. The principal, clearly disturbed, assured me that appropriate action would be taken. By the end of the day, Mark was fired. The divorce process moved quickly. There was no fixing this, and we both knew it. Rose tried at first, Apologies, tears, promises, but they meant nothing. She destroyed our family, and nothing she said could undo it. We split everything evenly, though she kept the house and I moved into a small apartment downtown. But the hardest part was figuring out custody. I didn't want to take the boys away from their mother, but I also couldn't bear the thought of seeing her every day. In the end, we agreed to shared custody. Weekends with me, weekdays with her. It wasn't perfect, but at least I still had my boys. The day the divorce was finalized, I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter. The pain was still there, the betrayal still stung, but I wasn't trapped anymore. I had my freedom, my dignity, and a future that was mine to rebuild. And that was enough. A painful revelation, triggered by the very act of seeking security. This story reminds us that sometimes the hardest truths are found when we're least expecting them. What would you have done if you discovered such a betrayal through your own eyes? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's discuss. If this story resonated with you, like, subscribe, and join us again here on Echo Tales, where every whisper leaves a lasting mark.